into another segment from the Sit Down with Malik Wright, presented by First Star Logistics. On this segment, we'll be discussing if Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens are going to bounce back this football season. Now, you might be asking, what do I mean by bounce back, right? They were in the playoffs last year, but the last two seasons, Lamar Jackson has ended the season with questions, whether it be injuries, quote unquote, holdouts because of contracts. Now that that's all taken care of, Lamar Jackson has signed to his extension. He seems to be happy. Will Lamar Jackson and the Ravens be able to take that next step and actually advance towards championship contention? Here's what my thoughts are. I think Lamar Jackson might take another step as a passer this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Dan and I were sitting in the house and we were talking about it, and we were talking, we were looking at our future bets, if you will. And I was like, will Lamar Jackson lead the league in rushing yards this year? And he said, I think Lamar might take a next step as a passer. And I thought about that. And I said, here's a guy that
kills me to agree with Daniel.
Here's a guy that
makes me sick.
Here's a guy that's been ridiculed a little bit recently. A lot of people say you can't read NFL defenses, although some of those things might be true, or he relies too much on his athleticism. I think Lamar Jackson understands that, as he gets older, progresses, some of the athleticism sort of goes away. So you need to find a way to continue to evolve and adapt. I do think he might make strides as a passer this year. And I wonder, will that help the Baltimore Ravens or will that hurt them in some ways? Because if you get too reliant on the passing game, it might take away some of the things that made him very, very great, right? Now he's relying on some of the wide receivers that he has currently in place, and Odell Beckham being one of those things. So I'm not sure if I feel the greatest about his the receiver room that he has in Baltimore right now. But I do think Lamar Jackson is going to try to make those strides as a passer. And I think the Ravens are always going to be a tough out, right? They're always going to be a tough out. They're always gamed opponents. But I think that if we're going to see them take that next stride and advancing towards championship contention, it has to be this year. What are your thoughts, Daniel?
So there's two parts to this. First off, I think that they're going to have the best year of Lamar Jackson's career. And this may be bold to say, but I'm looking at them. I think from a regular season standpoint, they're going to be a top 5 team heading into the playoffs. I think consensus, they'll be a top 5 team. Everybody's going to say, this team has the best year of their career. And the reason why I say that, first off, new offense coordinator, Todd Monken.
Mm-hmm.
I saw what he did with Stetson Bennett in college, and not to disrespect Stetson Bennett, but
go ahead.
He's not a great runner. He's not, I wouldn't even say a very good runner. And Stetson Bennett.
You can say he's not that great of a quarterback. It's
Stetson,
fine.
I think Stetson could be decent, but Stetson is nowhere near the runner that Lamar Jackson is, and Stetson looked like an amazing runner in college. So I look at what he's going to be able to do. One, Lamar Jackson's receiver room has gotten better, right? Odell Beckham, you still got Mark Andrews. I also love their second tight end, Isaiah Likely. He stepped up in a big way as their first tight end last year. He's their second tight end. You got Zay Flowers. This is the best weapon room he's ever had in his career. So I look at this, and it's also the fact, for the public's opinion, they had a down year, right? He played 12 games. He wasn't in the playoff game. So the public's perception is down on the Ravens. You add in the new offense coordinator, you add in new talent. I think Lamar Jackson has a career year this year. So
yeah, no, I agree with what you said about Todd Monken and how that's going to kind of change things, because I feel like they've been capped with what they've had, wide receiver talent, with kind of limiting themselves to being that run heavy team. We know that teams like the Giants, who have had lacking offensive talent, we know college teams have kind of relied on that zone read, that option game, to kind of balance the field a little bit and give them competitive chances. But I also think that, like the Giants did with Daniel Jones, where they encouraged him to scramble more, I think despite them shifting to a passing offense, I think Lamar is going to be able to have that freedom to go 1-2 in his reads and then take off if he feels that the opportunity is there. But I know you said you don't feel great about the weapons, Malik, but it's not even necessarily, it's like the Bengals offensive line, right? It's not about being the best in the league. It's about being good enough, right? And some recent receivers from the last 4 years, Demarcus Robinson, Marquise Brown, Devin Duvernay, Willie Snead, Miles Boykin, Sammy Watkins, 36-year-old Deshaun Jackson, James Proche, right? So when you talk about Rashod Bateman, who I know he's had injury problems, but when he's on the field, last year his 2.3 yards per route run would have ranked 11th among 102 receivers. So when he was out there with Lamar, he looked good. When you add in Zay Flowers, who is a promising prospect in the slot, who I think is going to be good and valuable for them, adding in, like you said, Mark Andrews, one of the most talented tight ends in the league, as a receiver who can also, when he stays healthy. And then obviously Odell Beckham, we don't know exactly what he offers at this stage in his career. But again, you're talking about Odell Beckham of now versus the previous options.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there's a lot contingent on health, like there is for many teams. But I do see a reality where this turns out to be Lamar Jackson's greatest year because he really gets things spread out more, less focus on him, more potential weapons and threats downfield that help open things up for him. And though the run game and run touches might not be there, I still think the run success will be there through scrambles. And obviously, you're not going to do away with the quarterback runs altogether. But just looking at that, looking at their defense that they've got right now, I mean, the offensive line we know between Ronnie Stanley, Tyler Linderbaum, Ronnie Stanley being back healthy is huge. Morgan Moses is a competent right tackle. You got Kevin Zeitler. I mean, this is a quality offensive line. Then the defense, Justin Matabuke has been trending in the right direction every single year. Michael Pierce is one of the best nose tackles still in the NFL. And then looking at how Roquan Smith really helped unlock Patrick Queen, who was putrid prior to him getting there. I like taking a chance on Rocky Sin. I think he'll be very good for the Ravens across from Marlon Humphrey. So there's a lot of reasons that looking at these safeties with Marcus Williams and Kyle Hamilton, I see a lot of ways that this breaks right for the Ravens, even if Odell misses some time or Rashod misses some time or Mark Andrews misses some time. Now your offense doesn't completely fall off a cliff
Right.
when Mark Andrews misses a drive or two or a game.
This is true. This is true. I definitely think that the Baltimore Ravens are right up there with the Cincinnati Bengals competing for that AFC North this year. I do. I think they're always going to be a thorn in their hip. I think the key for we talked about Lamar, but I want to talk more about their defense. I want to see their defense be able to get more effectively. Oh, I don't want to. We would like to see their defense get more effective. In terms of rushing the passer and getting towards the passer. I feel like that was an area that was very unlike Baltimore last year, where it seemed like they struggled in those spots. I know they had a new defensive coordinator, right? A new defensive coordinator in the fold last year, but if I feel like if Baltimore's able to put that together and get back to their ways of being able to rush the passer and effectively and consistently, and just create that havoc and create that chaos, the sky's the limit for this Baltimore Ravens team. What are your thoughts, Ev?
No, I agree. I think you're going to need to see some development from those younger guys like a Dafe Owe that has
100%.
been big on projection and potential, but you need to see that kind of translate to the
100%.
field now. But that's someone who could give them a big boost. And I don't know. I think Matabuke can help kind of be that interior pressure for them if he really takes that next step forward. He's had those flashes, but it hasn't been as consistent for him. And so I'm curious to see if he really takes that step forward. And then I still think the linebackers are going to be helpful. I think Marlon Humphrey bounces back a little bit, kind of reclaims a little bit of his form. I think having two really talented safeties playing behind him and Kyle Hamilton and Marcus.
Who's the other corner next to him?
Marlon?
Next to Marlon, yeah.
Rocky Sin. That's who they signed to be the guy on the other boundary. Just playing the press man, Baltimore style with those safeties behind you and just say, hey, just jam them up, disrupt the route timing, playing that first 10 yards, cover what you have to, pass it off to the safety. I mean, I feel like he's a good enough value for,
Daniel and I kind of got into it a little bit in the house, and we were talking about it, talking about Kyle Hamilton, actually.
Yeah.
And he's very high on Kyle Hamilton.
I'm a huge Kyle Hamilton fan. We were talking about, him in the AFC North. I think he's either the second or third best safety in the AFC North.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair.
And I just think what I see with Kyle Hamilton, there's two things that I need to look at for this Ravens team. One, their secondary. I need to see them hold up, right? We've seen them against Cincinnati Bengals get absolutely torched. So for them to take the next step into Super Bowl contention, I need to see that secondary hold up against these other, top tier receivers. And we've just got to see the offense in the playoffs, because I've seen the Ravens in the playoffs. I've seen them struggle against the Titans. That's been my biggest issue. It's Lamar Jackson. Does he fail during crunch time? Does he throw that late interception? Is he able to be more than, quote unquote, just a runner, in the regular season? So I think regardless, they'll have a great regular season. Crunch time in the playoffs against the Chiefs, against the Chargers, against the Jaguars, against the Bengals. That's where Lamar Jackson's going to make his money this year. And that's where the question will be answered, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I know we definitely saw the difference that Roquan Smith made, being added to that Baltimore Ravens defense. So I wonder if Patrick Queen is able to take the next step as well. I know he's kind of pissed that he didn't get his contract option picked up, and he's probably going to be trying to play with his hair on fire. So it'll be interesting to see if those two can form quite the duo as a linebacker tandem. But if you guys like more video content like this, give this video a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we upload a video or we go live from the First Star Logistics studio.